Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Egypt has dispatched 4 military transport aircraft loaded with tons of food aid to Gaza. The airdrops target areas inaccessible by land, aiming to ease the severe shortages faced by Palestinian residents amid the ongoing crisis. This initiative complements Egypt's continued land-based aid delivery and reflects Cairo's role in coordinating international efforts to support Gaza. Since the crisis began, Egypt has provided around 80% of the total humanitarian assistance entering the Strip, working closely with friendly nations to alleviate suffering. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced Canada's intention to recognize the state of Palestine at the UN General Assembly in September this year. Carney emphasized Canada's steadfast support for Israel's right to exist in peace and security, stressing that a viable Palestinian state recognizing Israel is essential for lasting peace. Highlighting the erosion of the two-state solution, Carney called for the coordinated international action to restore hope for peaceful coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians. He noted the central role of the United States and Canada's commitment to partnering for peace in the region.
In which Hamas can play no part, and to demilitarize the Palestinian state.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that Canada's plan to recognize a Palestinian state could jeopardize ongoing trade negotiations between the two countries. Posting on his Truth Social platform, Trump said it would be very hard to finalize a trade deal with Canada if Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, proceeds with the recognition at the UN General Assembly in September. The Trump administration has already announced its intent to impose a 35% tariff on a range of Canadian goods starting Friday if a new agreement is not reached. The warning adds a sharp geopolitical twist to already tense economic talks. Meanwhile, Israel has sharply rejected Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney's announcement to recognize a Palestinian state, calling the move a reward for Hamas. In a statement posted, Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the Canadian government's shift undermines efforts to secure a ceasefire in Gaza and to establish a framework for the release of detainees. The rejection highlights tensions between Canada's evolving Middle East policy and Israel's security concerns. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Vershinin has stated that Russia's recognition of the state of Palestine helps preserve the possibility of a two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. He noted that Russia has maintained strong relations with Palestine since the opening of its embassy in Moscow in 1990. Vershinin emphasized that a two-state solution remains the most viable path to peace and urged an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, highlighting ongoing discussions with international partners, including the UN. He described stopping the bloodshed in Gaza and alleviating civilian suffering as urgent priorities in achieving a lasting peace. In other news, Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun has called on Hezbollah and other armed groups to hand over their weapons exclusively to the Lebanese army. Aoun stressed the need for the state to assert full control over all Lebanese territory. He highlighted the importance of Israel withdrawing to internationally recognized borders, the release of detainees, and securing $1 billion annually for the army over the next decade. Hezbollah, however, has resisted disarmament demands, complicating Lebanon's security landscape. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced that he had approved key principles for major arms agreements with the United States. He described agreements as large-scale and expressed hope that they would be fully implemented, which he believes will strengthen both Ukraine and the U.S., along with their allies. Zelensky also praised the U.S. government's efforts to pressure Russia toward peace, highlighting that sanctions and international pressure are essential to limiting Moscow's resources for the war. He mentioned ongoing preparations for further discussions with global partners aiming at strengthening Ukraine's position.